Good morning. Welcome to Hatha Yoga with Carol. So I don't know if everybody was tuned in last week that's tuned in today. I did let everyone know that we're going to be doing a practice from a chair today. So I'll talk for a few minutes if you don't have a chair handy because you didn't know. A folding chair like this is great. A kitchen chair is fine. Anything that doesn't have arms on it. So hopefully you've got something nearby that you can go and grab. So it's actually good timing for me to be teaching a chair class and maybe showing how you might work around an injury. So I've got something going on and have had something going on in my neck, which is affecting my shoulder. So we finally taped it up yesterday just to see if we could get that to heal a little bit more. So as we move through the practice today, you'll see that I'll make a couple adjustments. I'll talk about what you could do, or maybe quickly show what you could do. And then I'm going to back off and protect my shoulder, which is not going to get better. We're just having this conversation with Kyle. If I keep doing the things that make it hurt, it's not going to stop hurting. Sometimes that's an aha moment we all need to have. So finding that chair, sitting upright. So this is going to be a little different for a lot of us. Chair yoga does not mean seniors yoga. It does not mean, I can't move any part of my body. There's lots of different reasons why they might need to have a chair for balance. They might not want to stand at all. They might not want to come to the floor at all. We are specifically not going to come to the floor today, but I'm actually trained to teach potentially several different levels. I'm going to try that today as best as I can, but just for the sake of time, I won't always be able to show every version of every posture. Typically, if I was in a room with the students in the room, then I can kind of judge who might need to stay in their chair, who might want to stand up holding the chair, and so on, and who might not need a chair at all for many postures. But whether we're starting on the floor or starting seated in the chair, first thing I always recommend when we are in a chair is you just wiggle yourself a little bit forward. We want to make sure that we've got good contact with the floor. If you've got quite short legs, maybe the chair you've had to use is a little higher. Maybe putting a blanket or a couple of blocks under the feet so you've got that connection. And then we're still going to have that straight spine. So shoulders back. We're not leaning into the chair because we're a little bit forward. Hands on the thighs. So this is our seated mountain. Closing our eyes if we're comfortable. If not, lowering the eyelids, looking down at the floor. And we'll come to notice the breath. Noticing that sensation of breath at the nostrils. Maybe noticing it's cooler as it comes into the nasal passages, maybe even down the back of the throat. Slowing down the inhales, slowing down the exhales. And just like we would if we were sitting in our cross-legged on the floor, as we begin to slow down the breath, we might start to feel the shoulders drawing away from the ears. I feel the sit bones sinking into the chair. My hands are resting, maybe feeling a little heavier on my thighs. And my feet are sinking into the floor. Slowing down the breath, maybe even making the exhale a little longer than the inhale. We're just letting the brain know it's okay to switch into rest and digest. So we're switching that parasympathetic nervous system on. Not as catchy as beast mode on, but I think sometimes even more important. Actually, I think a lot of times more important. So the focus today will be on accessible yoga. So there could be, as I said, hundreds of reasons why maybe moving through an entire practice standing or down on the floor is not possible. Injury, surgery, sometimes age. As we age, often balance becomes a little more tenuous. Could be the fact that you know, there's many people who don't have any feeling in either both legs, one leg, both arms, all four. That doesn't mean they can't do yoga. As a matter of fact, if we can sit just as we are now and notice the breath, that's yoga. Everything after that is a bonus. So when I took my accessible yoga training, we talked about teaching yoga to people with disabilities. And the lead trainer said, we are just temporarily able, those of us that don't identify as disabled. There'll come a time in our lives where we will have some reason why we need to adapt daily life and yoga postures. So hopefully I give us a few suggestions today, and hopefully this is something that would be quite accessible to someone that maybe hasn't attempted a yoga class, and this is going to help them get started. So we can slowly open our eyes, and we'll start with our warm-up. So dropping chin to chest, looking to the left, lifting the chin, maybe looking up towards the ceiling, looking to the right, and back down. So this might be a big circle, it might be small, depends on your neck. You might hear a few snap, crackle, and pops, especially in these quieter rooms. Changing direction, I'm used to having just the sound of more humans and my music. And coming back to center. So we can either hold on to the side of the chair with our left hand. We're going to bring the right arm up and over. I'm bending over to the left, but if I feel balanced and comfortable, I can let that left arm reach down towards the mat. And then we'll move to the other side. So again, maybe gripping the chair, left arm up and over, or maybe reaching the arm down. And then let's almost windmill back and forth, alternating, again, either holding the chair and just leaning down a bit towards, trying to open up the ribs, stretching the side body. And coming back to center. So one thing I'm noticing with me is I'll tend to, if I stop keeping my legs active, my knees tend to splay open. So just part of keeping the legs a little active is just maybe imagining that you're squeezing something in between them, just gently, just to keep them in line with the hips. Let's bring the hands to the shins, or shins. You can bring them to the shins, but hands to the thighs, leaning forward, moving over to the right, and then you should have space to lean back, just brushing the back of the chair to the left and forward. So I find in this, seated in a chair, I almost have more mobility in this movement than I do when I'm sitting cross-legged. Let's change direction. We can bend the elbows, moving, maybe finding those tense or sticky spots after sleeping. And then coming back to center. So now we can move the feet just a little bit more than hip distance apart. It gives us a little bit more space. We're going to do a seated sun salutation, so this gives us a little bit more room to come down in our forward fold. So we'll start with a few of just raising the arms. Inhale up, exhale hands to prayer. So let's do a couple more of those. And then on the next one, we'll move through the full half sun salutation. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands together in front of the chest. So some of us might bring the hands to the thighs and fold forward. Some of us might know that we can continue to reach through towards the floor. Either way, let's stay here for a few minutes. Just doing our best to lengthen the spine. If the hands are making more contact, you can maybe bend the elbows. Chin might come to chest, head hanging a little heavier. And then we'll inhale hands to shins to that half lift, bringing the chest forward, shoulders back, looking forward. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up, rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So let's move through one more. This time I'm going to show one variation that kind of includes a seated version of Cobra. And I'll move through this once, and then when we come to the standing sun salutations with the chair as a prop, you will have the chance to alternate and do either one of these. So inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands together, choosing whether the hands are going to come to the thighs or folding all the way forward. And then we're going to inhale, hands to thighs, bringing the chest forward and bringing the hands just beside the shoulders. So we're kind of coming into our cobra. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. We'll do that one more time because I forgot the down dog. I haven't taught this in a while. This is the sequence that I teach at Big Hill Lodge, and I haven't been there many months. I don't know when I'll be back. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, hands to thighs or beside the shoulders. And then exhale, reaching the arms forward. Down dog. Inhale, hands to thighs, lifting the chest. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So that's a couple different variations of a seated sun salutation. I might walk through it one more time later in the practice in case there is anybody that wants to stay seated when we move through those. So now we're going to lean back. So we are resting, excuse me, against the back of the chair, just to show how this is going to work. And then if you want to move forward, once we get started, you can. So I'm going to lift my knee, move it over to the right as far as is comfortable, touching the toe down, and then back. So I can keep leaning back if I need that support. Some of us might still be able to lean away from the chair. You might hold on to the sides of the chair or the kind of the backs of the chair. And I'm moving, doesn't have to be with breath, just as quickly and as far over to the right as is comfortable. So I'm lifting, tapping, lifting, tapping. And if lifting just isn't there, you can slide the foot to the right and slide the foot back. So choosing what works for you. We can start to feel that in the hip, usually pretty quick. Let's do a couple more. Excellent. Bringing that foot back. I'm just going to lean back or come back forward a bit. So again, choosing how you want to. You don't even need to hold on if you want to use your core a little bit to open and back. Lifting and touching or sliding the foot. And again, it doesn't matter how far this knee is coming to the left. Everyone's going to have a little bit different range. And it doesn't need a breath per movement, but don't hold your breath. And definitely start sliding the foot if this is becoming too much. We'll just do a couple more. Excellent. Really starting to feel that all the way down to the knee. Coming forward, we'll move through one more of the seated sun salutations. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lifting the chest, hands up beside the shoulders. Exhale, reaching the arms forward. And then inhale, hands to thighs, lifting the chest one more time, half lift. Exhale, fold. And then inhale, arms up, rise up. Exhale, hands to chair. So we are going to come to standing now, but the chair will always be nearby for support. And then I'll cue at any time you can move back into those sun salutations. So one thing with the chair that I should have pointed out right in the beginning, we always want to make sure at least two legs of the chair are on the mat, but preferably all four. It just is going to stop it from sliding. Because I can't see anybody, I sure don't want to think that anybody's slipping or falling because their chair moved away from them. So we're going to come into some chair poses. But for most of us, we can probably not come all the way down to the chair, so we're going to hover. But any of us that need to come fully seated before you stand back up, I'll talk us through that as well. So feet are hip distance. Let's make a few wiping motions so they come in below the hips. We'll kind of reground in our standing mountain. So inhale, arms up, or shoulders up, rolling them down and back, palms forward. Couple breaths here. And then maybe this is a really good class to remind ourselves that mountain pose is a balance. So if there is anybody that needs extra balance, you can even be standing a little closer to the chair. And you can always turn sideways and hold on to the chair if that's needed as well. So for those of us that this is not a challenging balance, just a moment of gratitude. And then on the exhale, we're going to reach the arms forward, sitting back as if we're going to sit into the chair, but just hovering. And again, if anybody needs the comfort and the balance of sitting all the way down, please do. So the weight is in my heels. From this one, let's keep the arms shoulder height. So as far as I'm reaching forward, I'm stretching those sit bones back towards the back of the seat of the chair. Coming all the way down when needed. Even if you need to come all the way down, you can still be reaching those arms forward if that's possible. And then inhale, let's straighten up. And exhale, hands back down at the sides. Then we'll just come into a little lumbar stretch, just by twisting, letting the arms hitting the sides. I actually heard it called a lumbar stretch recently. Jody always calls it the Carol twist. And then coming back to center. We'll come into the next one. This time we'll maybe reach the arms a little higher as we sit back. But if that doesn't feel good for the shoulders, keeping the arms wherever they are, even reaching back and holding the chair slightly. If that gives you more stability. Again, coming all the way down if needed. Otherwise, we're just hovering. Weights in the heels. Don't hold your breath. And then inhale, coming all the way back up to standing, arms back down at the sides, and a little lumbar twist. And coming back to center. So now we're going to turn and face the chair. And then we're going to move through sun salutations using the chair almost more as a prop, but certainly it's there for stability. I am going to move my chair right up towards the end of the mat. This gives me a little bit more space when I step back into plank. So you'll have to adjust as you move through because it really depends on the length of arms and legs. But I'm going to stand about 6 inches away from the chair. Again, feet hip distance. Let's lift those shoulders up, down, and back. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. I can deeply bend my knees if need to. But I'm going to bring my hands to the sides of the chair. If I can continue to fold more, I'm going to bend my elbows. Maybe letting my head touch the chair. Then inhale, half lift. I'm going to straighten my arms and just peek over the edge of the chair. Exhale, stepping back into plank. So we're going to have to figure this out a few times, but figuring out where it is that you can step back and still have the shoulders pretty close to right over top of the hands. You can bend the knees if needed. The heels can be lifted. And then inhale, up dog or cobra. This is the one I'm only going to do once because it's a little too much pressure for my shoulder. I'm going to bring my hips forward, lift my chest, and again, peek over the chair. Exhale, hips back, over top of the heels, stretching my arms out. My ears come in between my elbows, down dog. So I can have a bent knees here if needed. Or for some of us, this is an opportunity for me to have maybe a little bit straighter legs. And as I push, kind of bring my head a little bit more down, pushing my hips back. I'm really feeling the stretch in the backs of my legs. And then inhale, stepping back forward. Exhale, fold, bending the elbows. Inhale, straightening the arms to half lift, maybe peeking over the edge of the chair. Exhale, fold. And then inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So let's move that one more time. And I'll show a little variation instead of coming up. I do realize that when you come up into that cobra, the hands are probably a little closer together than they would be if you were in plank on the floor. So just accordingly, maybe all of us could not bring as much weight forward if it's feeling too awkward for the shoulders. So inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Grabbing the side of the chair, coming as far forward as is comfortable for you. Inhale, straightening the arms, stepping back into plank. So I might be up on my toes, shoulders over wrists. Now some of you might bring the hips towards the chair, lifting the chest. Again, that's a little bit too much for my shoulders, so I might have my heels down. Maybe I just lift my gaze. That's cobra. And then exhale, pushing the hips back. Really stretching those arms out. You can even walk the feet a little further back, making sure you've got lots of balance. And you might even be able to do the paddling. We'll stay here for a couple breaths. Really stretching out, lengthening the spine. Then inhale, stepping forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift, straightening the arms, peeking over the end of the chair. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up, rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. Excellent. So, and I hope for those of us that are used to having the mat practice, you either are feeling that stretch somewhere deeper, or you're able to straighten the legs a little differently. There's lots of ways that this can help us not necessarily intensify the sun salutation, but maybe moving. When we tend to do sun salutations a lot, the first sun salutation, it's a lot of that repetitive movement. And so hopefully this is maybe moving some of the stretch and movement into different parts of the body. So we're going to move through a little bit of a warrior series. I don't have time today to show the warriors on the chair, but maybe in future I will. Hopefully this one we can still find support, but there is an expectation that you'll be relatively comfortable standing. So I'm going to step my left foot back, having it on an angle. And if I think I'm going to need extra support, I'm going to have that front foot a little bit under the chair so that when I step back, if I need to, I can reach out for the back of the chair. I might even nudge my knee up to the edge of the chair just to give you that little bit of balance. I'm going to somewhat bring my left hip forward, right hip back. It doesn't matter if they're perfectly square. This back foot can be on any depth of angle that works for that left hip. We'll inhale the arms overhead, letting the shoulders sink away from the ears. Maybe even if you are comfortable with this posture, just having that chair to nudge up against just gives you, it's kind of like doing it up against the wall. Just gives you that little bit of support that maybe now you can press a little bit more into that back heel. And again, if you're wanting a little extra balance, there's no reason why you can't lean a little forward, or always the option to have the chair right in front of you. So if you know you're someone that needs a little extra support for balance, then you might move through the warriors with the chair turned that way. Okay, now that I've left you all there forever, exhale, straightening that front knee. I'm probably still going to have my foot 6 feet back, 6 inches back. I'm going to shift the weight into this front right leg, beginning to lift the left leg off the mat. And I'm going to come into warrior 3. So I can keep my hands at the top of the chair. I can bring my hands to the seat of the chair. And maybe this lets me stretch out a little bit more. I can even be a little further away if I want to have my arms outstretched. So here with this little bit of support, I might be able to work more on keeping that left hip bone down. I might be able to straighten my leg a little more. It maybe just gives us an opportunity to work on different forms of the posture without only focusing on balance. You can even have the leg down, and if you're closer, this might be your warrior three. So exhale, bringing that left foot down. Again, I left you a long time. Let's move through our sun salutation. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stepping back into plank. I'm inserting extra breaths here. Inhale, hips towards the chair, maybe lifting the chest or just lifting the chest. And exhale, hips back, arms outstretched. Down dog. Let's stay here for a couple breaths. Again, you can still bend the knees and paddle the feet, maybe even walking them a little further back. And then on the next inhale, let's step forward. Forward fold. Inhale, half lift, peeking over the edge of the chair. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So stepping back with the right foot, putting it on an angle somewhere between the top of the mat and the side of your room. Bending into that front knee. Again, nudging it up closer to the chair if you need the balance, holding on. I'm going to somewhat bring my right hip forward, left hip back. It doesn't matter if they're perfectly square. Inhaling the arms overhead, shoulders away from the ears. Maybe pressing down and out with the feet as if I was trying to move them apart on the mat. It kind of activates the legs a little. Warrior one. Exhale, lowering the arms. I can maybe reach first for the top of the chair, straightening that front leg, beginning to lift the right leg off the mat. I can bring my hands to the bottom of the chair. I'm a little close, so if you were a little further back, you might be able to stretch right out. So with this little bit of support, I might work more on bringing that right hip level with my left. And again, my warrior three might be holding on to the back of the chair and lifting that back foot just a little. Two more breaths wherever you are. And then inhale, let's bring that right foot forward. And we'll move through a sun salutation. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Stepping back into plank. Inhale, either bringing hips forward or maybe just bringing the shoulders over the wrists. Up dog. And then exhale, hips back. Arms outstretched, down dog. Couple breaths here. Then inhale, stepping forward, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, peeking over the chair. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So we're going to come back into warrior two, pardon me. So right foot forward, pointing towards the chair. Left foot, I'm going to step back, and it's going to be more or less parallel to the short edge of the mat. Hands on hips, checking the stance. And this is another one that might be nice if I just nudge my foot up against the chair, either for balance. Again, I can be reaching out. I can have that chair turned around if I need it a little closer for balance. But I find if with just that little bit of nudge against the chair, I can focus a little bit more on pushing into the outside edge of that back foot. Inhaling the arms to shoulder height. Looking at that back arm just to see if it is where we think it is, and then settling the gaze over the middle front finger. Warrior two. So if I am slightly touching the chair, it's almost like I'm trying to push into it a little deeper as I press into that outside edge of the back foot. It's funny how having just that little bit of sensory information on that front knee, how much more I can engage my legs. Exhale, let's drop the back arm down the back leg, reaching the left arm to the ceiling, maybe palm back, maybe even scooping a little. But again, we're lifting up and out of the waist and over. Trying not to collapse into that left side. Inhale, coming back to warrior two. Let's straighten that front leg. So if your foot was under your chair, you might want to bring it back a little bit. We're going to come into half moon, which is one of my favorites to do with the chair because I find the seat of the chair is kind of a really nice height. So left hand on left hip, I'm going to shift the weight into the right leg and then reach down and make contact with the chair. So maybe it's fingertips, maybe the hand can come down, maybe I'm going to hold on to the back of the chair. So I'll start by lifting that left leg and then turning my gaze, opening up my left shoulder, finding the balance here. There's still plenty of balance. Reaching the left arm to the ceiling, half moon. So reaching again for whatever part of the chair makes you feel, and just so you know, this could be half moon. Just lifting the left leg and balancing myself with the chair. We're just about at half moon right now up there in the sky. One more breath wherever you're at. And then let's bend that front knee, placing the left foot back down, coming back to standing. Bring the feet together, come back to face the chair, and move through our sun salutation. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Looking into the chair, over the chair. Exhale, stepping back into plank. I think I change this every time I do it. Maybe bringing the shoulders forward, lifting the chest. Maybe bringing the hips all the way forward. And then exhale, hips back. Ears between the elbows. You can still have a deep bend in the knees. You can pedal the feet. Couple breaths here. And then inhale, stepping forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So I'm going to turn my chair around just so you can see maybe a little better for half moon on the other side. So we'll start with warrior two, stepping back with the right foot, choosing the level of support you need, either chair right in front of you, reaching for the chair here. I'm going to bring my foot a little bit under the chair so I can nudge just below my knee to the chair. That back foot is parallel. or mostly parallel. Hands on hips. So again, maybe just that little bit of a nudge against the chair. Inhaling the arms to shoulder height. Having a quick look behind. And then settling the gaze over the middle front finger. Let's stay here for 5 or 6 big breaths. And again, just demonstrating if you need a little more balance, you would have the chair closer. Then you could maybe just lift one arm or have one hand on hip. Next, exhale, let's drop the back arm down the back leg, lifting the left arm up and over. Again, up and out of the waist and over. Maybe palm back, scooping the hand a little. Reverse. And then inhaling the arms back to shoulder height. Let's lower the arms. Those of us that are going to use probably the seat of the chair for balance are going to bring the foot back a little more. So again, you can reach for the top of the chair and maybe just lifting that right foot a little, or maybe the chair is right beside you. Lifting the right foot a little is half moon. Some of us might reach the hand down to the seat of the chair on fingertips or flat hand. We'll open up that right shoulder, maybe reaching the right arm to the ceiling, lifting that right leg as high as is comfortable. A lot of us probably stretching a little deeper into this posture than we would if we were not having the support of the chair. So really taking this opportunity to reach and stretch if that's where you're at. 2 breaths. And then exhale, bending that front knee, touching the right leg back down. Let's turn to face the chair. One final sun salutation. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold. Stepping back into plank. Inhale, maybe coming up on toes, bringing the hips forward. I'm just going to do this one more time. Exhale, heels down, hips back, really stretching those arms out. Down dog. Inhale, stepping forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift, peeking over the chair. Exhale, fold. And inhale, arms up. Rise up. Exhale, hands to prayer. So we're going to take a seat now. I'm just going to turn towards you so you can see me a little better. We're going to come into another balance, even though really most of those postures we did up until now were balances. We're going to come into seated eagle pose. So again, walking yourself a little forward. So you've got good connection with the feet and the floor. And we're not only leaning back if you really, really need that for support. Otherwise, we're keeping all our core muscles active by sitting up straight without leaning back. So I'm going to lift my right leg and cross it over my left. Now, if this is really unavailable, maybe because of anyone who's had things going on with their hip or any kind of hip replacement, depending on when it happened, it's still encouraged that you don't cross. You can always cross ankles. So once I find a comfortable cross, I'm going to reach my arms out to the sides. Cross right arm under left. I can reach for opposite shoulders. Or I might be able to try to bring my hands together. So as you can see, mine don't meet. I've got quite tight shoulders, and I'm babying this right one a little. But I'm still going to sit up tall. I'm still going to squeeze my legs together as if I did in the standing version of this posture. And I'm still going to hold and squeeze my arms as tight together without straining though. Just, we always want to be able to breathe freely. The breath in some postures might be shortened, but we don't want to move to a place where we can't breathe at all. One more breath. And then we can reach those arms forward, uncross the legs. It's a little difficult, not as easy in a chair to do some of our releasing movements like with our windshield wipers, but we can still try. Just kind of rocking the knees side to side if that feels okay. Even closing them and opening them a few times just to release any tension in the hips. So we'll move to the other side, crossing left leg over right, arms out to the sides, or crossing ankles. Left arm under right, either reaching for opposite shoulders, or seeing if you can do the double wrap. Maybe your palms come together. And then just sitting up tall. That will often increase the stretch right there in the back. So I'm still squeezing my legs, squeezing my arms. I'm not holding my breath. And then release the arms, release the legs. We can give the arms a little bit of a shake. Maybe rock the knees back and forth a few times. Now we're going to come into seated bicycle. So this is going to be a little different than when we do it on the floor. I'll talk us through it. Some of you might be able to keep the feet lifted the whole time, but I'm going to demonstrate by moving one knee at a time. So I'm going to interlock my hands, or just bringing my fingertips behind my neck, opening up the elbows a little. And on an exhale, I'm going to curl and bringing my right knee towards my left elbow and down. Left to right and down. Alternating. Maybe even twisting a little bit more to the side if you can. As you can see, I'm not making contact, so we don't have to make contact. Some of us have got body in the way, or tight shoulders, tight hips. And then this is a lot for the core. Some people might be able to keep the feet lifted. If they can, great. Otherwise, we're alternating. And if the twist just isn't working for you, just lifting, alternating knees towards the elbows. Exhale as we twist. Inhale to center. One more each side. And then exhale, releasing the hands. Let's give the arms a little shake. Then we're going to come into figure 4 stretch. So some of us will be able to bring this right foot on top of the left knee. This is a lot of pressure for knees. So some people might come and hold the knee, come into a cross-legged. And again, if for some reason it's just not available to cross the legs, we'll cross the ankles. So often sitting up tall, so bringing that chest forward, will start to give us a sensation in that right hip. But some of us will also be able to lean a little forward. Everyone will be in a little bit different spot, but of course the one positive that I love about us not being able to see each other is that There's no comparison. And the beauty of having me for a teacher is I'm not necessarily the person putting their hands down on the floor either, but if that's available, please move into that. I find this pretty big pressure on my knee, so that's one of the reasons I'm not coming any more forward. Big deep breaths. So this is my favorite posture to do when I'm traveling, if I'm in a vehicle big enough. If I'm in our smaller, sportier car, it doesn't happen. But if we're in our truck, often I'll do this as a passenger, partway through the journey, especially right now where we're not stopping maybe as often as we used to. Sitting up tall, let's switch sides. And what was available on one side might not be on the other. So maybe on this side you cross legs or cross ankles. Again, sitting up tall. And then exhale, maybe folding forward. Maybe you're able to reach your hands further down. This is also one that I'll try to get away with on an airplane on a long flight, if I know the person next to me. And if I was in the aisle, sometimes no doubt you'd get your knee knocked a bunch of times, but sometimes I can sneak this in on a longer journey, which might not happen for a while, but that's okay. I have the memories of all the ones I've been on. Big deep breaths. And then let's release that. Let's walk the feet kind of into the goddess position. So the toes are pointing out. I still, although I'm not going to be coming up and down, I still kind of want to sense that my knees are tracking with my toes, because it's not better to have the feet more open. That often puts an awkward rotation on the knee and even the hip. We'll bring the arms into cactus, bringing them out at the sides. And then on the inhale, let's imagine that we're squeezing like a big heavy slinky together, so we've got some resistance between our hands. Maybe bring in the elbows if we can. And then same thing, our arms are in concrete. Exhale, opening. So just imagining that tension. And we'll do 2 more. Last one. So it's really, really hard this time to squeeze that spring together, bringing the elbows together. The concrete's setting up, so it's really hard to open back up. Excellent, and release. I give the arms a little bit of a shake. And let's take this left hand. I can just start by bringing it to my knee, but there's some of us that might be comfortable with reaching it down towards the ankle. Right hand on hip. Let's open up that right shoulder, and maybe we can reach that right arm to the ceiling. So this is one variation of triangle pose. I'm continuing to try and open up that right shoulder. I'm keeping my neck neutral, but you might look up towards that top hand, and you're really reaching and stretching those arms apart. Again, you can be here, and you can even be resting the forearm if that feels better. The one thing we learned in accessible yoga training is we really need to let go of what we think things need to look like. Inhale, let's come back up to center. Bringing the hands back down. Let's do a few shoulder rolls. And even often we need to let go of our relationship to gravity. So we even would workshop how to teach all the standard postures to somebody who's lying in bed. And so you just have to visualize what the posture looks like and then come into it on your back. And the possibilities are endless when you sort of let go of what you think things need to look like. So this right hand, again, I can have it on my thigh, inside of my knee. I might be able to reach it down towards the ankle. Maybe I can even touch it to the floor, but I don't want us really collapsing the back and everything just because we think the floor is a better place for our hand to be. Left hand on the left hip. I find on this side I need to come up a little just because it's kind of a little tougher on my right hip. I'm kind of pressing my arm into the right leg, and then again maybe reaching that left arm up, really reaching the arms apart. Seated triangle, at least one variation of it. Inhale, coming back up. Let's walk the knees back together. And we're just going to do some final little stretches of the legs, and then we're going to come down into a little bit different Shavasana, and I will demonstrate more than one version of Shavasana. So let's bring the knee into the chest. Doesn't matter how close it gets. You can either hold on the outside or under the thigh. We're going to move to behind the thigh eventually. But just sitting up tall, bringing the knee into the chest. A couple breaths here. And then we will reach behind the thigh. So now we've got space to do some. And you can lean back onto the chair here if that's just too much for your low back. Changing direction. Do you like my Birkenstock tan? I don't know if you can see it that I already have on my feet. That's to me a sign that the summer has arrived when I've got the Birkenstock tan. Pointing the toes, flexing the feet. And I wear them not because they're trendy. I'm wearing them because I need the support. Point, flex. And the next time we point the toe, it's like that whole bottom from the knee down to the toe is a pencil, and I'm drawing a circle. This one you might need to lean back for if you weren't before. Changing direction. Excellent. And then let's release that left foot. Again, right foot. Let's bring the left knee into the chest, holding the outside or behind the thigh. Doing our best to sit up tall, pulling that knee in. And then let's switch to behind the thigh, doing our ankle circles. Changing direction. I miss hearing all the ankle cracks when we do this. And then point and flex. Point. And then keeping the toe pointed, let's do circles. Changing direction. Excellent. And then releasing that foot back down. So we have two choices for Shavasana. If you're not comfortable coming down to the floor, we're going to walk our sit bones all the way back to the back of the chair. And even if you are comfortable going to the floor, trying something different is always interesting. So we're still going to keep our feet relatively hip distance. If people have straps, often what I'll do is I'll strap their knees at this point, but just let the knees relax so it doesn't matter if they splay out a little. I'm leaning back into the chair, hands resting on the thighs, eyes closed if that's comfortable. If you have a bolster or a cushion, sometimes I even put that under the hands and the forearms. But for those of us comfortable to come down to the floor, we're going to finish in legs up the chair. So coming onto our backs, how far away you need to be from the chair is dependent on the chair and the length of your legs. With this chair with a bit of an open back, I often tuck my feet on the outside because I like to have the support right up to the knees, but you might have to wiggle around a bit to find your spot. You can have the arms at the sides when you're done, or if you're feeling a little more inward today, left hand on heart, right hand on belly. If this just does not work at all for your low back or anything else, feel free to move the chair out of the way and come all the way onto your back, or come up to sit in the chair. I'll just talk us through our little bit of a guided meditation. Covering your eyes with a face cloth or an eye pillow if you happen to have one. And then I don't remember to say this enough. Don't feel like you have to come out of Shavasana when I talk us out of it, because you don't need to lean forward and turn anything off. Feel free to stay in your Shavasana for as long as you'd like. So let's take a long, slow, deep breath in through your nose, feeling it all the way down into your stomach. Hold. And then exhale through your mouth. Take another slow breath in through your nose. Fill your lungs completely. Hold. And release the breath through your mouth. Empty your lungs completely. Take a third deep breath in. Hold. And then let it go. Feel that the tension in your body has begun to loosen and subside. Bring your awareness to your feet and toes. Now breathe in deeply through your nose, and as you do, gradually curl the toes down and tense the muscles in the bottoms of your feet. Hold. Then release the muscles in your feet as you breathe out. Next, bring your awareness to your calf muscles. Breathe in deeply. And as you do, point the toes up towards your knees, tightening the calf muscles. Hold. And then release these muscles as you exhale. Take a deep breath in, and as you do, imagine you're squeezing something between your thighs, tensing the muscles in your thighs. Hold. And release. Draw in a nice deep breath and gradually tighten the muscles in your buttocks. Hold. Then release the breath. Feel the tension leaving your muscles. Draw a nice deep breath and then tighten your stomach muscles. Hold. Now release. Let the muscles relax. Bring the awareness to the muscles in your back. As you slowly breathe in, arch your back slightly and tighten these muscles. Hold. And release. Pull your shoulders up towards your ears, squeezing these muscles. Now breathe out. Let the contracted muscles go loose and limp. Feel the heaviness in your body now. Breathe in, clenching your fists, tightening the muscles all the way up to your arms. Squeeze. And release. Letting the hands go loose and limp. Now tighten the muscles in your face by squeezing your eyes shut and clenching your lips together. Breathe in fully, hold. And now breathe out and relax all your facial muscles. Feel your face softening. Take a deep breath in and then open your mouth as wide as you can. Feel your jaw muscles stretching and tightening. Now exhale and allow your mouth to gently close. Take one final deep breath in, filling your lungs completely. Hold. And then release and relax. Let all that air carry away every last molecule of tension. Rest here. I'll bring you back in a moment. And begin to take in a deeper breath. If you're choosing to come out of Shavasana, maybe opening and closing the hands a few times, moving the feet. Might reach the arms up overhead, giving yourself a big good morning stretch. Bringing the knees into the chest, giving them a nice tight squeeze. If you're on the floor, maybe rolling onto the right or left side, coming to fetal position. If you're seated, staying here. And just making those movements. And then eventually, if you're on the floor, either pushing yourself up to a seated on the floor or coming back up onto your chair. Whichever you choose, bringing the hands together in prayer, maybe tucking the thumbs into the sternum. I'm going to leave us with some words from Lao Tzu, who is the father of Taoism. Health is the greatest possession. Contentment is the greatest treasure. And confidence is the greatest friend. Thank you very much for sharing your practice with me this morning. Namaste.